Hey Tractor Chasers, we are out in the field with a John Deere 4650 tractor planting soybeans with two 750 grain drills connected with a Houck Hitch. The Houck Hitch is an impressive invention that lets you pull two grain drills at the same time, and in this video we'll get into the details of how this was invented, how it works, and also at the end of the video we'll see it folding up for transport so you can see how this works to make it so this 30-foot grain drill can go down the road at only 15 feet wide. But for now, let's go listen to this awesome 4650 at work. The Houck Hitch was invented by Shane Houck in Pennville, Indiana. He was looking for a way to improve the productivity of his planting operation and came up with this simple but really effective way to connect two John Deere 750 grain drills. At the time, he was only using one grain drill, so this doubled the productivity. The neat thing about these hitches is they don't require any modifications to the grain drills themselves. So if you wanted to, you could take this hitch off and run back with just single grain drills. We'll see him folding up later in the video, but this is a really simple mechanism that the arm swings around and puts the other grain drill behind the front one. And it only requires hydraulics to work the latches. Everything else is done by the tractor driving forward or in reverse to physically move the grain drills around into the right positions. There's also a cable in the back of the grain drills that holds the grain drills together so that they don't drift apart when you're planting. These were a really impressive way to improve productivity at the time, before air drills became popular. A lot of farms at the time were only planting with 10-foot or 15-foot grain drills, so upgrading to this meant you could plant with 20 feet or 30 feet wide drill setups, doubling their productivity. Even though Shane Houck was a fabricator, they had an agreement with Erskine Manufacturing out of Minnesota to manufacture these hitches, and then they were sold through John Deere dealers. There are other hitches that allow you to connect two grain drills to a single tractor, but with those it staggers the grain drills, so you end up with longer planting setups, and it's a little more difficult to turn around than these Houck hitches that put the two grain drills right next to each other. These hitches were made for the grain drills manufactured in the 90s and also up into the John Deere 1560s and 1590 grain drills. This is really an impressive piece of engineering to see, and it was interesting to talk to this farmer who said he used to plant with a single 15-foot grain drill, and so this really doubled his productivity and made it so that he can get a lot more acres in the ground quickly, which is especially important with the small planting windows we've been having. Be sure you stick around to the end of the video so you can watch how this grain drill setup folds up. No matter how evenly you fill up these seed boxes, when you get towards the end, some of the seed tends to settle in different areas, and it's important to go check the boxes to make sure it's even and that you're planting with every row unit. He was going to be switching over to an organic variety after this, so he wanted to spread out the seed in the bottom to make sure that every row unit was planting, but that he didn't have to add more seed that he'd just have to clean out later. To fold up, you just need to release this cable on the back of the grain drill, and then there are hydraulic pins that lock things in place. And then from there, it's just driving the tractor in the right way to position the grain drills and swing the hitch around. It's really impressive how simple this design is for how effective it is to double planting capacity. Talking with a couple guys that run these, there is a art form to try to get these into transport position and back into field position. So there's always a little bit of back and forth trying to get the tractor in the right spot and adjusting to get the grain drills in the right spot. But usually within a couple minutes, it's folded up and ready to go. hope you love being out in the field with this John Deere 4650 planting with two 750 grain drills connected with the Houck Hitch. If you love seeing tractors like this at work, please take a minute to subscribe to the Tractor Chasers channel so you don't miss any videos. Thanks for watching.